Hi, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to look at a single old penknife from Sheffield, England, and this one's from a manufacturer that's pretty rare. I'm not even sure they really existed. Normally here, I would find some info about the manufacturer, which applies to the items that I've got, and give a quick history. But this is one where the history is really vague. It's going to lead me to some guesswork, but I think I've got it. I think it's accurate. I'm going to have to look at the knife itself and see if I can figure out where it came from. The first thing to notice is it's very tiny. It's maybe 2¼ inches. Most of that is bolster. The bolsters are fancy. They've got a basic design on them. That suggests to me this was meant to be a higher end knife for a lady or a gentleman. And it's also got pearl scales to the same effect. Not real pearl, of course. Anytime someone says a knife has pearl handles, they mean it's mother of pearl, which is like mollusk shell, the shiny inside of a pearl oyster or a mussel shell. That's organic material, so it dries out and it shrinks over time. This side's more yellow than the other. That could be from exposure if it sat in the sun for a few tens of years, or possibly different quality sources of shells, more than likely UV or light damage. The next thing I notice is it's 100% handmade. Nothing here seems mass-produced. The length of each bolster is uneven. The left side has more space below the lines. The placement of the scale pins is uneven, at least not perfect. The thickness of the spring along the bottom seems uneven. It doesn't line up 100%. There's no half stop on the main blade. The secondary blade does have a half stop, which probably means the construction on the main blade wasn't tight enough to join the bottom of the tang to the spring properly, or maybe it just loosened over time. The blades are simple carbon steel, old steel. Some rust and wear, but they're intact with no major sharpening damage. So I know it's very old, 19th century. These knives go back hundreds of years, but they get a lot more popular in the States after the Civil War, when we began to develop a middle class and people had money for things like imported mother-of-pearl knives. There were a few American manufacturers around then, like Case and Cattaraugus and Primble, but a gentleman's penknife would have been imported. Imported knives became a lot more rare after the 1890 McKinley tariffs, and more American knife manufacturers were springing up then as well. The Tang stamp was difficult to read at first, but it does say Cook Brothers. I'm not sure how well I can show it. I might get an HD pic in here. There's a knife manufacturer from New Orleans around the Civil War time that made Bowie knives and bayonets called Cook and Brothers, but they're different. Regardless, it was real easy to find other similar pen knives that people have sold with the same branding from the same period. So I know I've got the Tang correct. Look at the bolsters, right? Some discussion on internet forums dates them without evidence to 1890s, late 1800s. And the Tang on those other knives say Sheffield, so I don't have any reason to believe this knife is not a Sheffield, England production. I've got some online resources, and the only Cook family I found from the area was a father and sons that made scissors, but one of the sons died with the dad. I looked forever. I had all the AIs do deep searches, but found absolutely nothing about a Cook Brothers cutler or smith in Sheffield. And they did keep records. I'm going to say there was no Cook Brothers cutlery manufacturer in Sheffield at the end of the century. So that means very likely the Cook Brothers were Americans, and they imported the knives from Sheffield. Like in one of my really bad first videos, they paid the smiths of Sheffield to produce the knives to their specs and stamp. Then they would turn around and sell them here for more than they paid to obtain them. They never had to get their hands dirty or tool a machine. So the end result then is that this little knife was a luxury item. It was imported to America by the Cook brothers from the Smiths of Sheffield, England, sometime between 1870 and 1891, and that would make it about 140 years old. Other importers who had their own stamps had enough success over a short time to create their own cutlery companies like John Champlin, but I don't have any info on what might have happened to the Cook brothers. They're likely lost to time. And that's all I could find about this stamp. Thanks for watching. If you do happen to know anything more about it, please let me know below. I've got hundreds more rare and cool knives from my dad's lifetime knife collection that I'm looking over. He's not around to help, but I think I'm doing okay. If you'd like to subscribe and join me, I've got a whole lot more work to do, or you can check out some of my previous videos if you like pocket knives and cutlery history.